Welcome, everyone, to another episode of HR and Payroll 2.0. I'm Pete Tiliakis, and as always, I'm joined by the legendary Julie Fernandez. Welcome, Julie.
Thanks, Pete. Great to be here again. And I'm so excited to be here with a friend of ours, Max, who has some cool stuff going on.
Yeah, look, I thought, it's going to be Global Payroll Week by the time this comes out. And I thought, who better to have on to celebrate Global Payroll Week than the Commandant of Global Payroll himself, Mr. Max Vander Klis-Busink. Welcome to the HR and Payroll 2.0 podcast.
Thank you, Pete and Julie. Thanks for the warm welcome. My lifetime dream, my bucket list moment to finally feature in your podcast comes true. Because whenever an episode is released, I stop the press and listen to the episode. So you're doing a great ton of work, and it's very kind of you to invite me for this special edition in the almost best week in the world, Global Payroll Week.
Yes. We get a whole week dedicated to Global Payroll. And like I said, you're the perfect guest for that. We should have had you on a lot sooner, Max. I feel like we've probably said that to a few guests.
No hard feelings.
No, man, we're happy to have you. Happy to have you.
And listen, since people are gearing up for Payroll Week, I think it's only fair to say that you put out just the best social media about how to have fun with payroll. And yes. I know that you make that a mission of yours, Max.
Passion for payroll, Max.
Passion for payroll and like just all kinds of fun, making it fun. So thank you for that.
You're most welcome, right? It's hard work. Everyone knows it. And sometimes you just need to laugh. I always had with my team, for instance, when I was Global Payroll Manager at Zoom, I always ran one Friday joke with the team. Sometimes it went rogue because I scared them. I said, where's the bank file? Well, we just loaded it. I said, no, where's the bank file? I said, we're loaded. I said, just kidding. I proved it. They're like, don't do that anymore.
But just that sounds like April Fool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like cruel jokes you play on your kids, you know? Yeah.
Hey, Maxwell, I always get the honors of being able to ask, and I don't know if I know your story, but how on earth did you get into the payroll space? I mean, did you start out just right out of school wishing to be a payroll guy or
Born into it.
Born into it.
Perhaps. Well, the story is that whenever I saw my father leave for work when I was a very young kid, he had like a classic job in the office. He worked actually for EY. So that kind of runs in the family. And I saw him with his briefcase in his car going to work. And I'm like, I'm going to be like Dad. I'm going to work in an office job. Now, I didn't know that was going to be payroll. I was actually studying commercial economics at the time, and I dreaded full-time studying. It was not for me. I had so much free time that I didn't know what to do with. I got all my grades, but I was learning theories and concepts that I didn't know how to apply. I've never run a business. I've never sold a product. How on earth I'm going to internalize these concepts and then apply them? So I started thinking I maybe should drop out of school, not by doing nothing. So I decided to go and work full time and get all my degrees, which I got later in human resource management, the Dutch payroll certification, many other courses. I started applying for jobs. And after many, many rejections, I also applied for a payroll administrator job. That was at the age of 19 or 20. They accepted me.
Yep. You sound like me, Max. You sound like me.
They accepted me. So did I choose payroll? I choose to work full time, and I chose to apply for a payroll job because it truly sounded interesting to me. This whole flashback of my dad going to an office, kind of accounting, tax / dynamic and space. This is it. And then I came into that office. I saw binders full of payslips. I said, what's a payslip? Show me a payslip. What do I do with this? And I got hooked like instantly. And now we're fast forward 2 decades later.
That's amazing. I was thinking about this the other day myself. I was like, I've been doing HR and payroll since I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
Auditing data. And I didn't even know it at the time. But how crazy, right?
Yeah. And it sounds, Max, just naturally like you're in this forever. Like there's no reason. Why do we stay? Why do you stay is what we ask people next. But it's probably because you're living your dream of being like your dad. And it's pretty cool.
Well, for me, people have tried to pull me out of payroll many, many times in my career. Like, why don't you do global mobility? Why don't you do HR?
It pulls you right back in.
I said, I do all of that while being in payroll. Yeah. So I also, when I work in payroll, I do not have to choose. I do tax, I do finance, I do legal, I do HR, I do tech, I do data. I do everything in payroll. I've worked as a consultant. I've worked in sales. I've worked in service delivery. I worked as a global payroll manager, local payroll manager, everything in one profession. Like, I'm here to stay, whatever people might say. This
Yeah.
is a career for life.
Max, I love that. And that's why I think payroll is like just ripe for the Gen Z to figure out how cool it is, because you don't have to, you could do everything. You could change what you do and like try a little bit of everything through payroll. And I just can't wait for them to figure it out.
Yeah. There's so many lenses and ways to contribute for sure.
And I think with your survey, the proficiency index, you're making it sexy again and interesting, right? Because people who are indeed studying whatever I did, or accountancy, or do this, payroll might be a small portion. But
Yeah.
if only they knew. Like, I once hired an engineer by background into my global payroll team. He was indeed, or still is, a Gen Z. He looked at payroll from a completely different angle.
Yeah.
Of course, he learned the ins and outs of payroll a little bit because I hired him in his second payroll job. But his mindset of looking at data, at looking at a process, was eye-opening. First of all, he was Gen Z. Secondly, he was a mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
And then he found payroll. He said, I'm never leaving again. Look at the data I have at my disposal, and look at how relevant and important this data is. This is amazing. He's like, I said, yeah, we should put you on stage in Congress and say, hey, or maybe not at Congress because those people are already converted. Go to an engineering or an AI thing and convert people into payroll.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this before. Some of the most notable enterprise level payroll leaders I've worked with or been around, mostly in my consulting days, were from other areas of the business and took the payroll role for a promotion to make it director or VP or something like that, and made an incredible contribution from a completely different lens, which I think is fantastic, right? That bringing sort of disruption out from outside that want to make a difference. So I love it too, man. There's so many ways to contribute. But so Max, look, I was just looking it up here. Apparently, this is the 8th Global Payroll Week. I don't know if you knew that. I thought there were more of them. Man, how many of the? Obviously, you've celebrated all of them. But at this point, right, 2025, what does Global Payroll Week mean at this point?
Well, for me, kind of my theme of the year is increased visibility of global payroll. So, Payroll Org does a great job in organizing Global Payroll Week. There's a Global Payroll Titan Award. There is a Getting the World Paid survey that I'm actually doing a little bit of work on. But this will be revealed probably shortly on or after when this is released. But what I would love Global Payroll Week to convert to is not just us within our own confined space celebrating each other and tapping each other on the back. I want this to be an opportunity to make us visible in the organization and in the world. So if any plea to the people celebrating Global Payroll Week, take one fact sheet of what you do and the impact you have on the organization and the business and show it to your executive leaders.
Yeah.
Show them what payroll contributes. I once did this as well. I went to a CFO. I said, did you know that 60% of the P&L results from global payroll? She said, I had no idea. I said, yeah. So while we worry a lot about other stuff and other functions, which we rightfully should, I think you should invest a little bit of time in understanding how all of that data feeds into you finally signing off the annual reports.
Yeah, I love that idea. That's a great idea, right? I mean, it's time to showcase payroll a bit and show that they're the business leaders that they are, that just happen to sit in payroll, right? And you said something there, Max, I've been thinking about a lot lately, is you mentioned the word investment. I would love for leaders to start looking at HR and payroll as an investment and not as a cost center, right? I mean, I can understand why it's viewed the latter. And historically, that's probably been the case. But I think now more than ever, the opportunity to really look at it and say, well, if it's not performing the way you want it to, what are you investing in it? And not just money, but time and energy and prioritization and all of that. And that's part of what we're trying to communicate with the Payroll Profession Confidence Index. Is a big part of this is just giving that air cover and support and championing the HR and payroll. So I'd love to see that.
Exactly. And I think this is also kind of a skill. And I know we'll talk about the future, but what I would like to see developed more within global payroll, aside from all the technical knowledge, is a bit of business acumen.
Yeah.
Go out there, understand what your business does. And I'm on a lot of calls like you with global payroll people, if I deeply ask, what drives your business? Why do you even exist? people say, well, we sell this, we sell that. I said, I know, I can Google what you sell, but what's the actual business behind it? And once you start
Yeah.
understanding that business, okay, so this might be something worthwhile. Like, I'll give you a short story. I'll try to keep it brief. I also worked for Crocs, the lovely shoes that you either
Yes.
have or
Yes.
not admit having, right? Um,
None for
um,
me.
yeah, well, no. Well, of course, as an
I
ex,
just don't own any. Sorry. Yeah.
I love them in the gibbets. I
Yeah.
wear them proudly.
Good.
I quickly understood how important payroll and time tracking was for the business, for a retail
Yeah.
business. And people who were in the stores should not be demotivated or worry about their pay or that they couldn't understand their pay. So I literally developed a survey for them to assess, how do we do? I was like 2 or 3 months in the
Yeah.
job. Obviously, something was wrong. I said, how do we perform? They were brutal. Like, we were
Yeah.
like destroyed. I said, but that's great.
That's
But
good.
now I want you to help me improve this. And what turned out, we did a lot of improvements, but one of the most significant improvements was as simple as it gets. These people in the stores, they were clocking in and out, punching in and out on the point of sales on the POS. And then at some point, they also received a payslip. They could not reconcile one with the other.
Oh,
So I did a very easy project with my team to align all the codes on time tracking to the payslip. I instead of writing manuals, I recorded 3 or 4 videos to say, hey, this is how you reconcile it. 3 months later, people said, you don't need to send this survey anymore. You already know we're happy. We now understand our pay. But
yeah.
just by asking the question, it says, okay, ask me tell me how I can improve. What that then meant is we could actually generate results together with the HR function and with revenue. We said we have the cost data, we have the time data, they have targets against those, then they have revenues. And every month we could, within a matter of days, produce the results and pay out bonuses related to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that truly motivated people because they knew we can trust the data, it supports me in a bonus. And that's where payroll can add value.
Yeah.
Just ask the question how.
All that communication, right? I think that's something the business needs to lean into as well, right? I mean, in that case, you got to talk to the customer, the employee, but the business can learn so much.
That's what strikes me the most about your initiative, Max, is I think just even being able to get the organization to agree that payroll is important enough to be able to launch a voice of the customer style survey,
Yeah.
short and, however it is that you did it. It sounds like it was brief. It was not a big overblown thing. It was just get that data. I mean, I can think of a number of organizations where that wouldn't be important enough to hit the engagement survey voice of the customer type stuff, right? And it's just elementary, and it was so informative and so transformative for you.
It's taken for granted.
Yeah.
Kind of like the electricity analogy, right? About, the lights come on, there's no big deal, it's fine. Right? If the lights don't come on, then it's, everything's wrong. Yeah. What do we do?
People sometimes, they love complaining.
Yeah.
Or they love pointing on what goes wrong. But I also challenge them, support me in finding a solution and not just telling me what goes wrong.
Well, and payroll's emotional, right? I mean, it's connected to everyone's well-being and life and all of that. So it gets very emotional, and you can understand that. But I think having that transparency and communication is how you remove that emotion to some extent. And then it's just about the facts and the data and the insights. Exactly. And if everything's, if nothing reconciles, no one's going to trust anyone. And if it does, then that's, there's a certain tolerance that's provided at that point, I think. So Max, I'm so excited. I know you wrote a book. It's just come out, I think, just recently. Congratulations. What an incredible accomplishment. It's called The Global Payroll Manager's Playbook, the Definitive Best Practices Framework. I read through it. I think it's really cool. It's a little bit tactical, a little bit strategic, a little bit of everything, but I think it's a really nice foundation for payroll leaders to set up a future operation. So tell me about it, man. What was the motivation? How'd we get here?
Well, my motivation was to finally get on this podcast, of course.
Oh, well, you could have come on. You didn't need to write a book.
No. First of all, thanks for your support, Pete and Julia. Yeah. I really appreciate it. So, yes, for the people also watching video, the book is out. It's been on Amazon since last week, Tuesday. Let me go back in time a little bit. I published a lot of articles. I've delivered a lot of courses, partnered a lot with Payroll.org to do so. And I never thought people would read it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I sit here, I have a great idea, and people would not read it. And there's kind of been three, well, there have been more pivotal moments, but three pivotal moments. I met Miranda Humphries. She's the senior director of payroll for Salesforce
Yeah.
for EMEA. I met her 1 or 2 years ago in her office, beautiful office in Dublin. And I find myself that she pulls up an article with my framework and says, hey, I've applied this in every role I've been, and it's helped me tremendously.
Wow.
And I was sitting there completely blown away, like people actually read it. So we started tic-tac and I said, well, and since he gave me some feedback, I would probably change this, change that. I said, okay, great. And then I have another guy who now lives in Hungary, Hazar Imran. He's EMEA payroll manager at Tetra Pak. He showed me slide packs that he'd created for his global payroll transformation, basically with snapshots of what I did. And I'm like, whoa, this actually has an impact. People actually use this. And then last year, I delivered the course, the Global Payroll Management Certificate Program. And I had Alice Demoke, Global Payroll Director for Sonova, who kind of heads up Sennheiser and a group of companies, who did the same thing. And then I said, okay, Max, you were also starting in global payroll about 20 years ago. There weren't a lot of resources. I said,
Yeah.
I wish I would have had everything I've known today at hand at the time in a very accessible way without needing to travel, without any, education. So I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I actually started 2 years ago, then stopped after these meetups with these three individuals. I said, let's do it again. And I started in November last year, and now it's released.
It's
I
amazing.
skipped a lot of Netflix nights, Disney Plus nights, and all the other streamings to be able to do this. And my main motivation was it needs to be something, to your point, that is strategic, but also tactical, but also operational. So no matter the journey you're in global payroll, it should speak to you. For those on more strategic levels, they will probably look at the part on global payroll strategy, but also on an operating model of governance. Those in the trenches will probably give me feedback on the delivery part, but also it helps them upskill to being a leader themselves. So
Yeah.
that was kind of my main motivation.
Yeah. No, it's great, man. I appreciate it. And congratulations. It's such a, it's such an accomplishment.
Listen,
Julie?
I feel like it's so needed, Max, because we'll all age out at some point in time. Not anytime soon, I hope, but at some point in time, you can't wait until you've had 15 years and X number of experiences in different environments to get this collective knowledge together where you are useful, no matter what scenario you're walking into. And we have generations that are going to need to be much more functional in much less time, and will have greater tools than we ever had. And just pulling that together just feels like such a legacy, really, to leave on.
I had one friend who said, so now you've completed the end game of global payroll. What's next? I said, well, let me tell you about global payroll. I said, what I've put into the book is my view of global payroll. It doesn't say that whatever I put in the book is the exact 100% right thing to do.
Yeah.
But if only it triggers someone to disagree with what I've written in the book, it then solidifies what they think and what they can act on. So it should trigger a conversation of those people. And that's why I've kind of, global payroll people in general love structure. Right? A structure, give me structure. Any team I've led said, please, Max, give me the structure we need.
Yeah.
and I've always used a framework for that. That's why it has 4 big building blocks: strategy, governance, operating model, delivery. Each of those 4 have 4 different elements. So it doesn't really matter where you are in your journey or what you need. You just go to the right one and say, okay, I want to learn about this today.
Yeah.
Or I want to learn about that today. And I've tried to write it not as a novel where you only find out who the bad guy is in the last chapter.
Yep.
Right? This you can actually read top to bottom, left to right, or any way you would like to. So that's how I've tried to write it.
Well, and payroll people as well. They not only do they want structure, but they want detail. So there's plenty of room for them to fill in their own infinite levels of detail as only payroll people can do. Right?
Yeah. The nice thing is there's no one size fits all. I mean, every situation is different. And payroll, you guys know this as consultants, no one is ever done, right? They're always moving. It's very, very, it's very kinetic, right? It's constantly, the plane is flying. We have to repair the plane while we modernize the plane. So there's just a lot going on. And I think there's just no one size fits all. And I love the idea of saying, well, look, here's this framework. Now make it your own, right? Make it yours.
Exactly. And that's what many people have done. What does strike me, and I know if you have this in your conversations as well, and there's a lot of surveys out there on the question, do you have a formalized global payroll strategy?
Yes. Yeah. I'm really glad that was your very first chapter and not the
Yes,
last.
exactly. And it still strikes me as odd in 2025 that people say, I want a seat at the table, or maybe to your initiative, the
Yeah.
chief payroll officer, but then you don't have a global payroll strategy? Like, come on. Yes, you could work on it, but at some point there needs to be a strategy. And maybe people are let down by it needs to be
Yeah.
100% perfect. Something changes, the business changes. You should still create your global payroll strategy. So, if anything, I hope that sparks people to develop a strategy and then make it adaptive to whatever the business needs and the changes over time.
Have you ever wondered what really makes a generation tick? Who gets to pick the name? And why the slang keeps changing? Don't worry, I can help. My name's Dr. Megan Grace. On hashtag Gen Z, I share the voices and experiences of Generation Z, how they're different from other generations, what moves them, and why they do what they do. In each episode, we go beyond the buzzwords and the stereotypes to dive into real conversations and the insights that matter to making intergenerational collaboration a reality. You can catch hashtag Gen Z on the Work to Find podcast network and wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, agreed. I've been even challenging people to say, look, it even starts even more with a vision, right? To having a vision of what you want this to be, even if it sounds completely unachievable. Have a vision, have a plan of something you'd love to achieve and accomplish and set the bar high and know that you're going to get somewhere near it, maybe. But the point is, I think having a vision and knowing and then having a strategy to make that vision come to life. It's so important. And if you look at more organizations are coming around to payroll being a part of an experience, right? The pay experience.
Yes.
And that's so much more, right? The total comp and the benefits and the rewards and the transparency and the equity of all that. And so payroll needs to fit very neatly into that. And I think that has a lot to do with its strategy, right? Being able to align. So,
and actually, I called it a purpose statement. You've called it a vision, but in the book, I have an example.
Yes.
And I actually know this by heart now. It's like together with our partners, Global Payroll always delivers a pay experience at the highest standard, supporting the business through adaptive delivery models and actionable workforce insights.
Yeah.
That's kind of a North Star. And you say to every executive, this is our promise to the organization. Let's now plan a strategy on execution against it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's, look, I think, man, talking about wishing these tools were around. I mean, 15, 20 years ago now, when I was in charge of payrolls, it was, this didn't exist, right? You had to have a community of people to talk to compare notes and try to get some information. And
exactly.
That exchange was there, but it's not like this, right? Where folks are sharing who've been down the road and bumped their heads and learned and won. I think is it's very, very important. So Max, tell me a little bit about just where this, what you'll do with this next. I mean, obviously all these frameworks are really great. I can see some offshooting content could come off of these. Am I already giving you homework assignments or what's next after this?
Good question. I think what's next is the future, and what the future will hold, I don't know. What I really want is to have the book out there. There's a lot of people posting about it.
Yeah.
I might develop some additional content around it. I might do some consultancy next to it if people have the framework and they have some difficulties implementing it or interpreting it. I've lived and breathed the framework, so I'll help them from kind of a consultancy perspective. And I'm looking to release a new edition probably annually due to new insights. And I actually have a very exciting, since we are in Global Payroll Week, can I also make a little announcement, Pete and Julie?
Yeah, please. Of course. That's what we're here for.
So for people who have bought the book, I am actually going to have a live book signing session at Congress on the 14th of May from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And I'll also give away 5 free copies of it.
I love it. Where now? That's at Congress. On what day would that be?
It would be on the Wednesday at the Expo.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. You guys got a little bit of a sneak peek to maybe come and talk to Max.
I hope you've told the pay people that they need to plan for that line wrapped around the auditorium and camping out from breakfast till 6:30.
Oh,
Max.
you're too kind.
Yeah.
And actually, people also ask me, of course, people need to purchase the book. The only thing I'm going to do with it is kind of cover my expenses. And I've committed to sponsoring local sports clubs and teams, especially the youngsters, in sponsoring their equipment, in sponsoring their t-shirts. That's what I'm also going to mainly do with whatever comes as revenues or profit out of the book.
That's really great. I love that idea. I want to do the same thing with some future things I'm working on, and I think it's always good to give back. But Max, how do we get more younger, not just younger people, but people younger in their earlier in their careers, to come over to payroll, right? Because we're losing people we've always been losing people, but now we're really losing them at a higher rate, just like every profession is. Folks are aging out, right? They're retiring. And payroll's never been the first jumping point, right? People are going, oh, I'm going to find a career in payroll and HR. Like we hear on this show, most people just sort of end up there. But what are your thoughts on that? How do we get the younger generations to come around and get engaged here? How do we get Gen Z on the payroll, passion for payroll potion?
It's such a great question, and I wish I would have the complete answer. Maybe a couple of things. I'm working on an initiative that I cannot fully disclose yet, but it's going to be a postgraduate at a university somewhere in Europe, with an official accreditation on international global payroll and HR. So we're going down the university route that also the book will be the basis of.
Very cool.
I am personally teaching my daughter, who is 8, math through Payslip.
Okay.
So
that
that's
is
what
so
I'm doing
cool.
there.
Teach her taxes too, right?
Yeah, and I say, if Daddy needs to spend 1,000, I need to earn 2,000, and it costs the company 2,500. He says, "How does that work?" I said, "Well, let's do the math together."
Yeah,
right? It's not just a bank account, so that's what I do with them.
We got a lot of adults we need to teach how to read their paychecks.
You're reminding me when my kids started their first high school part-time jobs with the first pay, besides being very thankful that they reinforced the idea that starting at 6 means starting at 6, not 6:15 or 6. It's great when kids hear that from somebody else. But I sat down with them with their very first paycheck, and I walked through all of the deductions with them. And I said, now, what do you think you get for this? And what do you think you get for that? And, do you think it's worth, it to you to have these taxes taken out for fire and police and, and just had that conversation about all the things that their payroll dollars
move to Florida
are deducted to.
They don't have any
of that. You can tell
that.
I'm still 1 foot in and 1 foot out, right?
Texas, move to Texas. They don't have any of those things. That's how you do it. No,
but
I'm
it's
kidding.
so
I'm kidding.
great. I mean, people don't do that, and it's the most relevant math they could possibly learn.
Peter, what I'm also going to try to do with the book is make it visible as part of a curriculum at universities. As part of an accounting, a finance, and HR study. I've studied human resource management at the University of Amsterdam. Payroll was not spoken of.
Oh yeah, same. I have a degree in HR. They didn't talk about payroll at all.
It should at least be
not even in finance parts.
Not in an MBA either. I could tell you.
Yeah, mine either.
If you would do like tax, then it would income tax would come across, bilateral tax treaties, social security, totalization agreements, those type of things would come along.
Yeah.
But I would maybe that's my mission for the next 5 years, to make it part of every curriculum, that people know this profession is out there.
Yeah.
Make it kind of sexy and not make it, it's a pay slip, it's an operational process. And maybe the book can serve as a basis for that, to at least for me to be a guest lecturer and then do a curriculum with a thesis on it.
Yeah.
I think that might be the way.
What country would you look to do that in your home country?
That for sure. But throughout Europe, I'm also looking at Poland.
Because I think there's already some progress in the UK around degrees.
There is an apprenticeship.
And Australia's making progress, right? The AWCC is doing a lot there. A lot of progress. They got the job they got the job type or whatever away from bookkeeping. The profession, has it have a named profession? It's been taken away from HR. HR was seen as unfit to manage payroll, which we always knew.
I shall not comment, but I agree. Yes.
Yeah. And it's a groupthink condition, man. You got a lot of people wandering around thinking that they know better, and they clearly don't. But anyway, And so then you've also got the fact that they're doing similar work, right? Trying to credential along the lines of a CPA and an attorney and bring the education closer together with the universities. So
And I
I love
remember
it, man.
you had and I forgot the person's name from Australia on the podcast as well. Who was it?
Kieran.
Yeah,
Kieran.
and yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And making that you have a registration and a certification to be able to submit tax returns.
Yeah.
There's actually a similar initiative happening in my country. It's been a debate for a long time. Just like a chartered accountant is the only person who can sign the books, right, and release an annual report. I still plead for all the associations across the world. That should be the same for payroll. You can't submit a payroll return, Social Security, income tax, whatever the return is in the given country, if you are not listed in a certain register.
I would agree. Yeah. Max, not only is it the largest hit to the P&L, but it's one of the only, aside from accounting for a publicly traded company, it's the only process in the back office that can get the C-suite hauled out in handcuffs. People don't realize that.
People, and I've seen a project come to life, and I was actually asked to join in a certain role. It's called the Global Payroll Doctor.
Yeah.
That role was started because one of the executives received incorrect pay, which triggered a whole global payroll transformation project, just because that one executive received incorrect pay. But we are here preaching to the converted. We should be talking to other people as well and making it visible. So that's something to ponder about. But I would want to solve it.
Hopefully, as we get more countries like Australia and the UK and maybe even your efforts as well, right? I mean, no matter how big or small, I think all of these things are adding up to an awareness around payroll that says, look, this is not a simple back office task. It's not bookkeeping. And it has some serious ramifications, and we need people to be credentialed and governed accordingly. And I think that's a good thing, right, for any industry. But
and I remember a Christmas dinner. It's April, but I remember a Christmas dinner where one of the HR executives of a company that I shall not name sat next to me, who I reported indirectly into. He said, "Max, what do you do?" I said, "You do know I do payroll." Yeah, but what do you do? I said, "Well, let me tell you a story. Yesterday, I was asked by my team and by your teams in the shared service centers in 3 locations across the world to release a payment. I said I had no influence in the whole end-to-end process whatsoever. I said, I've been presented some controls that we've designed, and now I need to release 270 million euros.
Oh my gosh.
I said, and you look to me to say that payment should be correct to the penny. I said, all the underlying employees look to me to say that should be correct. I said, that's my responsibility.
That's a massive responsibility.
And then I asked, what do you do? He said, I'll order us another drink. That's probably wise.
Is the guy next to the guy. Yeah. Hey, but I want to come back to something because, we talked earlier about taking some of your recommendation about taking your work and what you do and what you're producing to your leadership team. And in your book, you had a great segment on governance. And I think that's a really, really essential portion of payroll right now and the future. We highlight this and push on this a lot in the Payroll Profession Competence Index, and that is relationships and eminence and positioning and influence, right? Talk a little bit about that, because that's the part that I think when I talk to payroll leaders that are out there, especially those that are coming up, maybe those that are in an organization where culturally they are seen purely as back office, maybe in, God forbid, less than. How do you do it? Like, how do you start to position yourself around your data to begin having those conversations so you can show your business eminence and not just, be seen as just this sort of button clicking, all the stereotypes, right? All the myths and stereotypes about payroll.
Yeah, and there's lots of ways to do it, but usually something needs to happen in order to get that visibility. So what my aim always was that whenever something cross-functional happens, there is kind of a decision matrix, an authorization matrix, a RACI, whatever. I said global payroll in almost any process should at least have a consulting role.
Yes.
Because we should be consulted for X, Y, Z reasons. And I got to the point at another company where we had global expansion calls, where HR was there, finance was there, legal was there. Who wasn't there, Pete?
Payroll.
Payroll wasn't there.
Well, who
I
should have
said,
been first? Yeah.
and then something happened. I said, we are entering this country. I said, it's great if you're entering this country, but you're not going to pay anyone for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
And the country was actually South Korea. I said, it takes us at least 3 months to get a bank account. I said, to find a provider, to find the requirements. I said, we should now be part of that consulting role. Because if it is important for us to enter into a new market, which we fully support, and we will never say no, because Global Payroll is supporting the business, but we do need to know, and we do need to know on time. And this would be now the ramification of not including us.
Yeah.
That went up to the highest C-suite. We said, okay, you guys need to work together, and Global Payroll is an enabler. You are now preventing them from being an enabler. So sometimes something needs to happen in order to do that. But
Yeah.
what I also used to do is I created always one slide. And I once reported into a chief accounting officer that had, these are the countries, these are the payments, these are the filings, these are our KPIs. My only contact on a monthly basis with him was that chat.
Yeah.
And he said, Max, thanks, well done. I'll now bring this into the executives. So while I may not have a physical seat at the table, my one slide was always part of their executive, if only for 1 minute. But it says, hey, this is what payroll does.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And sometimes maybe it just starts with that, right? Few data points, few conversations. Just get something going.
It's a great example because that's one of the things as people are hearing, make your own seat at the table or bring something forward that, that shows the value. And the first natural question is, what do I do? Tell me what I can pull,
Exactly.
because we're in so many different things and expressing that value can be confusing. Like, what do I highlight first?
Max, what do you think a seat at the table actually really looks like for payroll, realistically?
You're looking for an honest Dutch opinion, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, totally. And does it need to include the chief payroll officer? I know this has come around, right? We've debated this before. The guys over at Chime, our good friend Jason Lee has a massive campaign on that. You should check that out. But yeah, what are your thoughts? What does a seat at the table look like?
I think in general, to start with, I support any initiative that increases our visibility in our profile. Whether someone calls it the chief payroll officer, the seat at the table, it's all great work.
Yeah, if you're going to dream big.
Yeah.
Why not, right? As long as it increases our profile, I'm all in. In terms of a seat at the table, I'm not sure we need a physical seat at the table. A lot of companies will need a very big table if everyone wants to have a seat. Yeah. I think Global Payroll itself should be a topic at the table. For me, it then doesn't really matter if I am physically at the table or not, but we should be a topic of conversations in topics that matter for the business. And in order to achieve that, you need to inform the right people who are already at the table of what the value of Global Payroll is.
Yeah.
If that then leads to a chief payroll officer, then they probably need to rebrand to chief people officer, because you can't have two CPOs, I think. But then it's mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Right? But I think we should not overlook that we as a function have the biggest role to play. It's not the others, in my humble opinion, that are preventing us from having a seat at the table. It is us.
I agree.
I am a natural extrovert, in case you didn't notice. So I have no problem talking to anyone about anything. But there's also a lot of payroll people out there who are just very introvert.
Yeah, agree.
May not feel comfortable going out there. And I think for us, and this is also one of the main skills that I said, is we need to have status quo breakers. But it starts with us, not with others. Like we can say, hey, we're here. No, we should raise our voice very loud and clear and speak the language that your executives speak.
Yeah.
If that then results to a seat at the table or a CPO, I'm all in. But I think the call to action is ours.
Yeah.
Because it's ours to get that seat at the table and get others to hear us out.
I think payroll's biggest challenge is making relationships and beginning to say and put their influence out there in eminence to say, look, I have a point of view, I have a vision, I have a strategy. Here's what here's the data to go with it. Here's what we need. Here's what we want. And I think showing that is a different skill that payroll didn't often curate, right? Is leading upward. And I think some of that is the new role. It's leading the organization versus being led purely by the organization. And so hopefully that's the transition, I think, from processor to strategic advisor is leading and that's going to be a hard part. But I think with the right environment and the right data and the right mindset, you can do that.
And there's
Yeah.
a lot of great, leaders like yourself, like others out there, right? So
Yeah.
always network. Aside from the book, there's talk to people
Yes.
who've done it before.
Yes.
Get a mentor. Get someone out there. My calendar has about 10 chats of 30 minutes just with global or regional payroll managers.
Yeah.
Just because we are
Agreed.
friends and we share stories and we share practices of how to do this or how to do that. Connect with other people who have done it. And I think the call to action is ours. So if we want to raise our visibility, sorry, but it's up to us.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a ton of resources. You're absolutely right out there. Your book, right? Lots of great books, lots of great folks. Just reach out to the community through LinkedIn or any of the payroll communities that you're in. And certainly check out payrollinfluences.com, right? I've got a forum there that I have curated specifically for this, for leaders of payroll to exchange information. So you're welcome to come there. And yeah, jump on it, man. We got a strong community and we all help each other. So why not lift each other up? All right, Max, I know you got to get out of here, man. And we're excited to share obviously what you're doing here at the book. But man, I want you to prognosticate a little bit here. What do we talk about in terms of payroll in 2030? Let's just go 5 years into the future here with AI, with all the awareness now. Definitely a lot of innovation. Certainly better acceptance that payroll is a strategic enabler. What do you think, man? What are we talking about in 5 years from now?
I think we probably ask ourselves the question, how did we ever not have a seat at the table?
Yeah. I hope.
And how that then looks like, I don't know. But I truly think we're at a pivotal moment in global payroll with all the initiatives, the podcast, everything that's out there, the work you're doing. Everyone is stepping up to raise the profile. And I think in the next 5 years, so in 2030, that will have done the trick. There's a lot of trends, and I'm not the big foreseer, but what influences payroll? Like I will of course mention AI once, and then I will not mention it again. But it will not be do you use AI? It will be how do you use AI, not if you use AI. So let's better embrace it and bring it in for the better good. I think with the Gen Z, or maybe my kids, Gen Alpha is that now, who might be slowly
Alpha?
getting in.
Yeah.
Alpha.
I think so.
Yeah.
Work from home, hybrid, or anywhere is the norm.
Yeah.
Regardless of the RTO, the return to office at the moment, that will be the norm, which I may see as one of the biggest challenges that global payroll is facing.
Yeah.
You work from, it's a great HR policy, right? Work from anywhere. We'll give you equity. We'll give you benefits. It's awesome. And then payroll says, yeah, that's great. But now we have payroll in 115 countries with mobile employees. So I think that will continue to be a challenge for global payroll. And that's why we need a formalized global payroll strategy and select your service levels, providers, your organizational structures to support that, because that's where global payroll can really shine. Because I think people do start to realize, oh, this is a great policy, but without payroll, we can't execute on it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's going to be, and I once said, global payroll sits on a lot of data, but it's time to stand up. So we actually unlock our data.
Yes.
And I think AI will probably do this, because up to now, we've always had the data, but we may not have been good enough to unlock it, myself included. I'm not an engineer.
We never had the time. We never had the resources and the time. We were always paddling water out of the boat because we had the crappiest boat in all the organization.
Exactly. And then I think, the delivery models, but also the governance piece, because yes, we look at AI, we look at data, but the taxing authorities, the tax authorities, all of them also look at it. So you see, I speak to a lot of people who now say, geez, I've been selected to do an audit based on the filings we have done and the submission we have done. So they are also doing more with less, because who wants to work there nowadays, right? But they're also embracing AI. So get your governance in place. Your data is crucial for your business, but also for your license to operate. So therefore, get your risks, get your controls in place, because everyone's looking at your data. I did an assessment of the Dutch tax return a couple of weeks ago. It has 127 unique data elements per person, per period in it. And I've calculated 40 of those actually are only required to produce a payslip.
Interesting. Yeah.
That means that all of the other data is just collected
It's
because
just,
payroll is trusted. And hey, the filing works. Our Central Bureau of Statistics uses our data as main resource to drive politics.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
amazing.
you better get your data right. And we are kind of misused where payroll used to be payroll data. Now they say, hey, these guys are really good. Let's ask them to collect some more data.
Yeah.
Like in your taxation, do you need to know your gender? We don't have different tax tables for a female, a male, or an X.
No, yeah.
Why do we even collect the data? Ask
Why not?
yourself the
Why not?
question. It's strange, right? Payroll is
Yeah.
used by the governments to collect data.
Yeah. No, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. It's a lot. I think a lot of these things, right, are opportunities for massive data mining.
Hey, Max, so can you deregulate some of that a little bit
Oh, yeah,
and eliminate the data that the government needs to have?
Yeah.
I'll send them a letter tomorrow. It will all be done and dusted.
Okay.
Julie.
Tell
They're
them you're the
perfectly
Commandant
fine.
of Global Payroll. They'll understand.
Exactly. So also in 2030, I hope that we have achieved people to see payroll as a career.
Yeah.
That
and
feels
who
like
As a
choose
starting
pay-
point. As a starting
Yes.
point. Yeah.
Exactly, who have finished their education and now say, and now I'm not going to start as an accountant, but
Yeah.
I'm going to work in global payroll.
Yeah. That would be
It
amazing.
might be ambitious by 2030, but I commit to do whatever I can to support that and to make that happen. So I hope that by then we will be in a podcast and then people say, who listens to podcasts nowadays? Oh, it's Julie, Pete, and Max who listen to a podcast. Oh, they also have video. And they start questioning, is this AI? Are these people real? Yeah, we're real.
We might be. Yeah. Anyway, no, it's
But
good
you're
stuff.
returning the question, Pete.
What's that? Yeah.
You live and breathe payroll.
Yes.
What's the one thing people should look out for in 2030?
You're asking me?
Yes.
That's a good question. I think compliance is going to still be, I think it's going to get worse. I think compliance is going to get worse. And I think we're going to be talking about a lot of compliance when it comes to, I mean, we already do, right? It's already here. So I think that's going to be a big part of it. A big part of that will be driven by, like you said, work being borderless. Also just the blurriness between human and machine. I think it's going to be much more about when do we bring in a human in a process, right? If everything becomes machine enabled straight through processing, it's going to be more about when does a human intervene in that and govern that moment, that decision, right? I think that's another thing we'll be talking about.
I'm going to take the people side of that. I'm going to say,
Yeah.
we know that we're losing resources to reach,
Yep.
folks are aging out of this profession.
Mhm.
And it's why I'm so aligned with you, Max, on, 2030 as a career in payroll, mantra that we need to have because everybody falls into it. Nobody has said they started their life looking to be a payroll person, and we need to change that.
Yeah.
And not only that, but it's so different. It's not a bookkeeper role anymore. It's such an advanced position in the center of everything, at the heartbeat of everything. You need to know everything, like you said. I don't need to go anywhere else. I already know, and I already do things in every corner of the organization. And so bringing that recognition to elevate it and, make sure that folks know you don't have to, outsourcing payroll is not your only choice for getting payroll resources. And more companies feel that they can't competitively find and keep payroll resources around. And that outsourcing is, maybe the only next place to go as resources get tight in this industry.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, right? You're buying into an innovation engine when you outsource now. It's not so much just head counts that you're shipping off, right? You're really stepping into an innovation cycle where payroll is the product. And I think most companies can't do that themselves. So,
but I also just think of my kids, they're 5 and 8.
Yeah.
They see Daddy on YouTube.
Yeah.
They see Daddy
That's
on
awesome.
a podcast. Daddy has written a book. They ask him, what do you do? I say, I do global payroll.
Yeah. You're payroll famous.
No, that's not the point. But I said, you could do anything with this profession.
Yeah.
But you're now going to have your Gen Alphas, your little Gen Alphas, Max, who are going to idolize work from home. I mean, you had the father walking out the door with his briefcase, and yours are going to see just, making videos about, the Christmas story of payroll and doing goofy things, to bring fun into their work. I mean, I hope they see all those things in you,
They do.
as they look at, I want to grow up and be like my father.
And they see travel. They see me engaging with other people. I said, I go to the dinner table. I said, I've spoken to people from 10 different countries today.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then we go to the world map. I said, I spoke to someone in India. Oh, where's India? And just playfully said, well, this is also the profession.
Yeah.
Said, where can you find this? Right?
Yeah. It's an adventure.
You're going to have employment contracts for your children before they're 12, Max.
Yes. Don't tell the labor law people, but yes.
Yeah. They don't tell you about all the adventure you get to enjoy. They need like recruiting posters like the military, like be all you can be, adventure.
Why not?
Danger.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like Frodo who goes on an adventure.
I love it. I love it.
There you go.
Max, listen, this has been fantastic, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Maybe we need to make this our annual Global Payroll Week check-in.
Sure.
It was with Max, the Commandant of Global Payroll. Max, where can everybody get in touch with you? Where can we find the book? I'll make sure to share all the links, but where can we check in with you?
Great. The best place to reach me is on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn, .com/passion for payroll. Just type in my name. There's not a lot of people who work in global payroll who are called Max van de Klis-Busink.
Yes.
So you'll probably hit on me. And the book can be found on Amazon. I think it's in 10 to 15 different marketplaces. That's where you can order it. Please do so. I've done this to support the profession and make accessible to you what I didn't have 20, 10, 15 years ago. Do it also to support my local sports team for the kids, because kids don't need to sit behind a screen. They need to be out there and play with each other and do sports. So you're supporting that initiative as well.
I love it.
And come find me if you go into Congress. Come find me at Congress.
Yes, Wednesday at Congress. The Wednesday you'll be having. Now, where is that at again? Remind us again.
Wednesday the 14th from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. I'll also post on it, so make sure to follow me. But of course, also find Julie and Pete, because you couldn't find two kinder and insightful people like the two of you. So thanks for having me on the podcast. Finally.
Thank you. And happy Global Payroll Week.
Sorry, I want to check the date, because earlier when you said, I think you said May 13th,
oh, no,
6:30, 7:30, and now you said the 14th, right? So hopefully, folks, the Wednesday. Okay.
Wednesday of PayCon in Orlando at the Gaylord Palms, right? Gaylord Palms, is that what they call it? Look for the event there. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll see Max there.
I know, we'll see you there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. We'll hope to see everyone there. So Super Bowl of Payroll, we wouldn't miss it for anything. So look for us all week.
I actually finally know what the Super Bowl is, Pete, because I watched a documentary of Tom Brady. So I of course I heard all the Super Bowl, but that show, this is okay.
So you'll know the reason I call it the Super Bowl of Payroll is because it's the Super Bowl is actually a whole week of events leading up to this big game on Sunday night that has kind of become kind of an American holiday, unwritten American holiday in a lot of ways. Pretty much the whole country checks out. If you were going to attack us or something, that'd be the night to do it. But anyway, or the next morning, whatever. UKG has a fantastic data set on how many people, it predicts how many people will call in sick the next morning.
Oh, probably, yeah.
I think.
I got to figure out how to censor you on this, Pete.
Me? What?
There's a day to attack us.
If there's a day to attack America, that would probably be a good one. Most people won't be paying any attention. At least part of the country won't be anyway.
Okay, so we're safe until next February.
You're safe until next Super Bowl.
Next year.
Unless there's, hey, there was Global Payroll in the Super Bowl this year, Max. Did you know that? Papaya had a nice little ad. It was pretty cool. Yeah. So that was neat. It's nice to see Global Payroll getting more mainstream. So
well done by not on the team.
I know. Shout out to those guys. Well, anyway, look, again, happy Global Payroll Week. Thank you so much, Max. And thank you as always to everyone for joining us.
Look at that. He had a
talk
whole
to you guys
show
next time.
already. That's cool.
Take care.